Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to give you my thoughts on a new documentary series that came out on Disney Plus, on Marvel Plus, Disney Plus. It came out a couple weeks ago now. I haven't really had the time to watch it. I was trying to watch all of the documentary because it's a documentary series, and each episodes vary. A couple episodes are an hour, it's only about, I think it's about 8 or 6 of them. A couple of them are an hour, a couple of them are like 40 minutes. And they're all fascinating. This is a great documentary series, by the way. If you are a Marvel fan, do yourself a favor and go watch this documentary. It's such a deep dive into some of the deepest, deep cuts in Marvel. The first episode, I showed my friend Seth this. You know Seth. I showed Seth this, and I showed him, I'm trying to think. Ooh. Huh. Because I'm just full of hot air. I showed Seth the episode on Japanese Spiderman, and the details that it goes into on Japanese Spiderman, the creation of it, how it got made, what Stanley thought about it, what the Japanese people thought about it. It's so informational. I just made up a word there. It's full of so much information. It's so educational. It gives you so much information. Informational. It gives you so much information that, things that you didn't even know. I don't want to spoil any of it for it because I want you guys to go see it, but I'm just telling you one minor thing. I didn't know that Japanese Spider-Man was the inspiration for the Power Rangers. Yeah, Japanese Spider-Man. There's so many things, there's so many more tidbits, and that's just one of them. Another one is diving into the forgotten characters of Marvel and really going, there's so many lessons learned in this documentary series. There's so many things that you take away from all of it. One episode is around, is basically a life in the day basically showing how a comic book gets made in modern day Marvel by following one of the greatest writers in the last decade of Marvel, Dan Slott. Following him as he writes an Iron Man comic book. But you get to see the process, and you get to look behind the scenes and see how comic books get made, and it's a lot more complicated than you think. I didn't know there were multiple artists. I didn't know there's someone who does the sketching, then someone does the, actual making the sketch bolder, and then someone does the fucking coloring and shading. I was like, dude, there are 3 different artists who work on a book. There are 3 different artists, and then sometimes they gotta bring in another writer. It's crazy. It was fascinating seeing the process of making a book, of making a comic book, because in your mind you kind of go, oh, you just need an artist and a writer. Boom. That's it. No, it's complicated than that. And there's not a lot of people who do the whole shebang, as it turns out. And Marvel, seeing how Marvel has changed too over time, there's an episode that a lot of people, I made a video about it, I finally got to see it, the Higher, Further, Faster one, which a lot of controversy around it. It was about women in comics, and it was just really fascinating. It was just fascinating to see the evolution of women in comics. How there were women in comics a long time ago. There were women drawing comics and working on comics a long time ago. It's just, it wasn't made that big of a deal out of. And, just seeing the growth of Marvel and the different characters that came about, and how Kamala Khan, seeing the birth of Kamala Khan and how that happened and how that even happened in the first place, just different things of that nature. There's a whole video on the artist, on people who work on the artwork, and it kind of shows that a lot of people who worked in artwork. I didn't know that the original designer of Miles Morales is some guy from another country. Miles Morales wasn't even it's some guy from another country who came up with the design and the way Miles would look. And I didn't know that. That was news to me. It's just all these different things that you get to learn and different lessons that you get to learn along the way. The fun one, though, to me, was definitely the one where they were talking about, there's one that's about, it's only 43 minutes, probably the shortest one on there, but it's about, I can't remember his name, but there's this comedian who's who's quote unquote, well, it's an excuse for him it's an excuse to make a document, it's an excuse to make a short documentary about about all the Marvel characters that are forgotten, characters that when you hear the name of, you're just like, what in the hell is that character? Who the hell is that character? It's pretty funny. And at a certain point, all I'm gonna say is brute force. Brute force. I want it. I want my Brute Force animated series. I want Brute Force. I want Brute Force. You don't know who Brute Force is? It's okay. No one does. It's a comic that was made a long time ago. It's a book that was made in like the 80s to try to take advantage of like Transformers and all that hype and sell toys, and it didn't work out. But that one was great to me too, because they were talking, was in that documentary, that 40-minute one, they were talking about the difference between a great character and what makes a character work and what makes a character not work, and the thin line between it, and how they talked about how, like, well, there are certain characters that didn't work and then they got shifted and worked, like how Kingpin was a Spider-Man villain and then he got shifted to become a Daredevil villain, and he changed and he became a bigger villain. Or how Wolverine no one knew who the hell Wolverine was. He was just a guy with claws, and then a great writer and a great artist got on him and he became better. How the idea is, and I love this concept because I've personally always believed this in myself. I've always believed this myself. There really aren't any such thing as a bad idea. Poor execution. Think it through more. Come back to it. Think about it more. I honestly don't think there's really no bad. Like, you can make almost any idea work if it's done properly. If it's done properly, if it's done properly, if it's thought through, if it's, worked on and you put the effort into it, you can make it work. And they did this amazing thing in this 43-minute thing where Brute Force, this whole fucking series is on this random group called Brute Force, which is a bunch of animals with robotic enhancements going around trying to be Captain Planet and protect the Earth and animals from cruelty of people. Like, that sounds ridiculous! Talking animals with robotic limbs and shit, and it's like, that sounds ridiculous. But the more they went through it, the more, like, and then people started, and then he would talk to more writers and talk to different people about him trying to push it, and the more he would go, the more it would become more apparent that it's like, it's not as ridiculous as it sounds. It's not as, this could work. There could be something to this. And it started to dawn on me, but I was like, there could be something to this, dude. And that's when I realized, watching that documentary, that documentary really inspired me, because I really want to write. I love writing. I really want to write. I really would love to write comic books. I would love to do it. I love to write. And sometimes when I'm doing it, I can think to myself, oh, that idea doesn't really work. But watching that documentary series, that episode of that documentary series really made me, it kind of opened my eyes to, dude, it don't matter how ridiculous it sounds. It's all about execution and hard work and putting thought into it. You put enough thought into something, you put enough good execution into it to get it right, just right, to, make it work. You can make anything work. And watching that really made me go, yeah, you can take a wild idea and make it work. And that's what the whole documentary does, man. It really does all of that. There's only one of them I haven't seen yet. I haven't seen the cosplay one yet, which I'm gonna look at. If it's great enough, which I might come back and just do an add-on to this video. But so far, I love this damn thing. I watched almost, like I said, I watched almost all of them except the cosplay one. Every one of them is different. Every one of them has a different director. All of them have a different style. It's essentially all different documentaries in one thing. And the thing about this show that's cool is I got a feeling they're going to come back with a season 2 of this, because this could keep going. This is really good. And I don't see enough people talking about Marvel 616, that documentary, but it is fan-fucking-tastic. Thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you are a Marvel fan, if you're a fan of the MCU, do yourself a favor and check out Marvel 616. You will learn so much. You will learn so many things that maybe you didn't know. So many things that maybe you did know, but you didn't see this aspect of it. There's so much fun in this whole thing. There's so many inspirational things in this. In the art, when someone said something that just hit me, it hit me. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but it's the artist that I talked about who made the design for Miles. He said something that just hit me, man. It just hit me right, and I was like, I had to pause it and just go, damn, man, he's a real one. But thank you guys for joining me on the Comic Game Movie Show. Please remember to like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.